Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your host of the Mint Tea Podcast, Wyatt Graves. Today's guest is another GoBundance brother, Daniel Casey. He is in multifamily and he is tracking along life, doing things just about like I am. He's got about 400 units under his belt. He's under contract for almost 100 more, and he's putting on a multifamily summit here soon for GoBundance and non-GoBundance members. So if you are interested in multifamily and or GoBundance and you want to check it out to see what it's like to attend a GoBundance event, we give all the details in this conversation. As you know, the Mentee Podcast is my opportunity to have a conversation with people that are doing things that I want to do. And I believe that I grow into the conversations around me. So I use this platform to bring these conversations together so that I can grow into them. And then I share them with the world so that if it's something that matters to you, you can ride along with me. So with that being said, let's get into my conversation with Daniel Casey. Awesome. Daniel, what's up, man? I'm so glad to have you on the show. I have been looking forward to this call for lots of reasons, mostly selfish, because you are doing things that I want to do, things that I'm trying to perfect, and I can't wait to learn from you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm, happy to finally get to meet you, semi in person, but yeah, I'm excited. Let's do it.
So I watched your real introduction to me is through GoBundance. You're in GoBundance. You're in Washington. I'm in Louisiana, and you're in multifamily. And you are hosting a multifamily summit for Go Bros, and then you've opened it up to people that aren't necessarily a member of GoBundance to come in and participate alongside us. And that automatically piqued my interest. Like I was in. And then you drop this bomb that Ben Hardy is going to be the keynote speaker. And I'm such a fan. I have coached in the group coaching settings with Ben like for 8 years. Read some of his most early books, Personality Isn't Permanent, Willpower Doesn't Work. And so I have applied lots of his principles to my own life, to my business, to my family. So I can't wait to meet him. So having said all that, why don't we start with you sharing with me and my audience a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing and why you're interested in multifamily.
Yeah. So, I'm Daniel Casey. I'm an entrepreneur based out of, the greater Tacoma, Washington area. I actually live on a small farm, kind of in a rural community outside of town. I've been up here. I was born and raised Southern California. I've been up here in the Northwest for a little over 25 years. I've been an entrepreneur most of that time, although only in the multifamily for the last several years. I had a pretty traditional upbringing, kind of grew up in a middle-class suburb in Southern California. Went to kind of pretty normal elementary and high school experience, ended up going to UCLA. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a CPA, so I took all of the requisite classes to sit for the CPA exam, got a job right out of college working for a KPMG, which was at the time one of the big 6 accounting firms, and really thought that's what I was going to do. And then not very long into that experience, I realized I absolutely hated it, and there was no way I was cut out to be a public accountant. And so I kind of had to really shift gears. And it's funny to me looking back that it had never occurred to me that I sort of had this entrepreneurial drive, but I just didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. And so even though it's like there were all the signs of it as a young child, it just never was even presented to me as a career path. So anyhow, I worked for KPMG for a total of about 2.5 years. And then left KPMG and started a construction company. So I had a partner back then, and we initially got into doing highway and bridge construction work. And so we did that went on for about 10 years. We did a lot of highway and bridge construction work along the West Coast. And then in the wake of the financial crisis, we shut that down, and my partner and I went separate ways. And I ended up going into commercial construction and really just doing. At that time, it got really slow, the market up here. I'm sure it was like this other parts of the country, but in 2010, 2011, 2012, there just wasn't much going on. And so we were really just doing anything and everything to kind of make ends meet. And we stumbled into the world of apartments and multifamily originally as a contractor. So in that kind of coming out of that period in 2013, 2014, 2015, as the market was starting to pick back up again and we were starting to get a little traction as a general contractor, we ended up connecting with several different groups of owners that were doing either apartments or senior living. And we started doing a lot of renovation work for them. And it was through that we got that was my first glimpse at just the world of what it looks like to be a multifamily or a senior living owner. And it was kind of in that process, we realized that we were on the wrong end of this transaction and that we needed to figure out how to become the owners and not the contractor. So, long story short, in 2018, we bought our first 8-unit building. And by 2019, we kind of decided we were all in, and we decided to stop doing customer construction work and just to, focus our efforts solely on multifamily. And between then and now, we've got a little over 400 multifamily units, and we still have a construction company. And that's actually still how we kind of earn our living. But these days, we only do construction work on projects that we have an ownership interest in. So that's the quick synopsis of how I got to this stage of my multifamily journey. And to throw it out there as a person, I've been married to my wife, Shirley, for 26 years. We actually have known each other our whole lives. We grew up in the same church together in Southern California. And then I've got 3 kids. My oldest daughter is 21. I've got a 16-year-old son and a 13-year-old, almost 14-year-old daughter.
I love it, man. I love it. I've got a 17-year-old. So I don't have a 21-year-old. I've got a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So kind of the same.
So you're just tracking a couple of years behind me. You're in the same. Yeah, you're in the same boat.
For sure, man. For sure. And it's funny that you say that you have a construction company. That's how you make your living. Because a lot of people might think, and I'm learning this. So we've got 175 doors, but they're not all in use yet. So we've got 24 units that are under construction. And so we're building those on some existing complexes, if you will. So I bought 18 and we're building 24 units next door on a piece of property that came with the 18 units. And then we've got 28 lot RV park. So it's not technically a door, but if you add all that together, it's 175. And then I was doing the math on the way home from the Midwest mastermind. So if everything goes well, then in the next 45 days, I'm adding 280 units to the mix. So I'll go from 175 to whatever 280 plus 175 is. So it's a big jump, and it's 4 hours away. So having said that, it might appear that, right, these things put off a lot of money. They only put off a lot of money once they're stabilized. And so like the 18 units that we've got, hey, it's great, but we're not getting paid from those at all because we're building 24 additional units. Now the 280, they're kind of stabilized. We're going to do some capital improvements and things like that. Force appreciation, we've got them at a great deal. So those will be good for us, but we still build spec houses. We still own the real estate brokerage. We still do mortgages. We still do a lot of other things to create the cash flow while we're building this portfolio. So tell me about that. Tell me about your 400 units. Are they close by? Are they near your hometown? Are they spread out? And then I'd love to get you to tell me what your organizational chart looks like.
Sure. Okay. Well, so yeah, all 400 units are local to me here. Most of them are in the city of Tacoma, and some of them are outside the city limits, but they're all kind of here in Pierce County. And we have an in-house management company, so we manage all those ourselves. And yeah, to kind of follow up on what you were saying, you're absolutely right. They're not. When we started this whole thing and we bought that first 8 unit, we set a goal of getting to 400, and we thought. And at the time, my kind of naive interpretation of how this was going to work was I was envisioning, making a couple $100 per month per unit off of all 400 of those units. And I was picturing that at 400 units, we'd just be swimming in cash. And I can tell you it's anything but, right? Like the thing is they're a very good long-term investment. They're a very bad short-term source of cash. And so, like you, we're kind of doing anything and everything to try to find ways to earn income alongside this, investing journey.
So you're in-house property management and you're doing construction, which is kind of similar to me too. So who works for you, like W-2, day-to-day operations, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So we've got one other operating business tacked onto this. So we have the property management company, we have the construction company, and then we also own a local hotel. And so, we somewhat run all three of those kind of as the same organization. All in, we have a little over 50 employees on our payroll. And so I've got, it kind of breaks down. I've got 3 key employees who, report directly to me, and the 3 of them really run just about everything else. And 2 of those 3 have been with me since we made the transition from doing construction work to buying multifamily. So, back at the time we probably had about 25 employees back in 2018 when we made the decision to buy that first 8-unit building. And then somewhere between 2018 and 2020, we probably went all the way down to, less than 10, maybe as little as 6 or 7 at one point in time, and then kind of grew it all the way back up from there. But so now I've got 3 key employees that report directly to me. We've got I don't even know the exact head count, but we've probably got 5 or 6 onshore employees on the property management team. And now we've got a pretty solid VA team based in the Philippines. So we've probably got another, I think there's at least 6 full-time VAs based in the Philippines. We've got several full-time maintenance guys. And then on the construction side, we've got, it fluctuates a little bit day to day, but I think we, as of today, there's a couple guys running it and, 6 or 7 full-time construction workers. And then we work with a lot of subcontractors and kind of independent contractor types.
And your construction, what kind of construction work are y'all doing? Just like turnovers? Is this make readies? Is this?
It's for the most part, it's just, it's renovation work on apartment buildings. And it's probably it's probably deeper construction than like a typical just, make ready or quick turn. Most of what we're doing is we're, kind of doing a full scale renovation, not quite down to the studs, but, replacing all the finishes, updated kitchens, updated bathrooms, patching and painting all the drywall. And a lot of times there's some systems upgrades involved, whether that's plumbing, electrical, adding washers and dryers, those types of things. So that's the bulk of what we do. Make readies and turns, we actually handle through our maintenance department, which is kind of a subset of the property management company rather than the construction company.
Got it. On the, when's the last time you bought units?
We're in contract on 98 units right now, but the last batch that we closed on was roughly a year ago. So I mean, we've been stable in this unit count for about a year, last summer.
And is that the units that your construction team is turning or renovating?
Yeah, that's some of them. We bought quite a few things in 22 and 23. And so we ended up with a pretty good backlog of work to do. And so, so the work that we're doing today is some of those units that were closed on a year ago, but also some of the stuff that was bought previous to that. And then the stuff we're in contract on is really, kind of lining up work for 2026.
Got it. That's what I wanted to know. And on those 3 key employees, going back to the top, are they divided like ops, accounting, marketing, or how are they positioned?
No, and we've juggled this around a little bit over the years. I'm not even sure we're fully set on how this is going to work long term. But I have an executive assistant who really handles everything, administrative. You could that'd be kind of a general COO, CFO kind of role. But her and I sort of fill those roles together, and then we have a CPA who reports to her, and then we, kind of a number of other, HR, payroll, financial stuff, just kind of all your home office admin stuff comes through her. And then I've got two key employees, one of whom primarily runs the construction and the other of whom primarily runs the property management, but they work pretty closely together. We're moving towards operating the construction and the property management company more and more like one unit. We had separated them a couple of years ago, and now we're bringing them back together. I think there's a lot of value in the 2 of them overlapping.
So the CPA is a contracted CPA?
Yeah, so the CPA is actually an interesting hire. So we have a couple of external CPAs that we work with, for taxes and other sorts of, traditional CPA type activities. But we ended up hiring a CPA in the Philippines, and so she was working for Price Waterhouse in the Philippines, and now she works exclusively for us. And she's the highest paid offshore employee we have. But I mean, the value we're getting out of that is just incredible. She's super sharp, super capable, and we're getting her for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to hire a similar employee, stateside.
And that's that's one of the full-time 6 virtual assistants that you mentioned?
Yeah, and we might be at 7 now, but yeah, she's one of our full-time. So when we were like not in this virtual assistant game at all 2 years ago. So we're
really not either, which is why I'm asking. We're trying to figure out the same thing.
It was a game changer for us, and my eyes. So, I can back it up. So we had no virtual assistants, and I hear about people, especially in GoBundance, there's a lot of people who have virtual assistants, and you hear a lot about it. And I was kind of always falsely under the impression that it just wasn't worth the hassle, because I was only looking at it from the arbitrage of, I could go hire somebody for 18 to 20 bucks an hour that I can look at and talk to and, sit across the desk, sit across the, room from me, versus paying somebody $5 or $6 in the Philippines. And it just seemed like there was a lot of hassle. And yeah, I get it. We'd be saving 15 bucks, but, it kind of seemed like there were easier ways to save 15 bucks. And then I realized that that's not really the equation, because it's not that like you're paying $5 an hour in the Philippines for somebody who you'd be paying $18 an hour for here. I mean, we're paying $5 to $7 an hour in the Philippines for somebody who we'd be paying $30 to $40 an hour for here and on up. And so when we realized the quality of employee we could hire this way, so we decided to go ahead and start doing it. Then once we started, it just seemed, there's kind of a few logistical hurdles you got to figure out. You've definitely got to have, somebody on your team who's willing to kind of take on the administration of the whole thing. But once we got into it, it's just an incredible amount of leverage. And then we quickly made the transition to starting to hire more and more highly skilled employees. Like initially, we were just kind of hiring general customer service type employees. And then we've, every time we go out and hire a more, high level technically skilled person, even though we're paying more per hour, the value we're getting is just, so much greater.
Man, that's great insight. I really appreciate that. We're trying to scale and prepare for this 280 apartments, and looking at our org chart and figuring out exactly who needs to be doing what. That's an interesting way of looking at it. So your 3 key employees, your executive assistant that serves as the COO, then you've got the property management division leader, and you've got the construction division leader.
Correct.
Yep. And then you've got 5 other property management employees. So tell me about those and what they're doing.
Yeah. So we have a woman who's really kind of the her title's office manager, but she's kind of the ops director type person for the property management company. So the person that reports directly to me has much more of like a visionary type role. And then this other woman is kind of the integrator. So they work well as a pair. So she sort of runs all the day-to-day administrative side of the property management company. We've got a couple of onshore customer service people, and we've got an onshore maintenance manager, and then we've got an onshore leasing agent. So those are our 5 key onshore people. And then we have 3 customer service VAs that primarily do a lot of the phone work, as well as a number of other miscellaneous administrative things. And then we've got kind of a full-time offshore administrative specialist. And then we have a full-time offshore maintenance coordinator who's actually very skilled, very technical, lots and lots of maintenance experience. And she kind of partners hand in hand with our onshore maintenance manager, and the 2 of them run the maintenance department. There's 3.5 maintenance guys and a couple of cleaners. So to round out the property management team.
Dude, so we're tracking. I want to hire a cleaner. I want to hire a cleaner. I've got some ads out right now, bringing like an in-house custodian, janitorial, cleaning tech kind of position. And then to launch our maintenance. So if you can help me in these 2 ways, it would be very appreciative. We have outsourced all of our maintenance thus far. And so we want to bring it in. So in my mind, we would have a maintenance manager, somebody that's really skilled, knowledgeable, quality control, and then a tech that can be more of the helper, really be heavy on his tools, where the maintenance manager can be on his tools, but the person that I want to hire is actually my dad, and he's like 65 years old. But he's grown up in this space and he knows what my standard is. He knows what the right way is. So to really establish the culture of the maintenance department and what quality looks like, I really want to lean on him, get him a helper. So where am I thinking wrong? What do I need to consider with launching a maintenance division?
Well, I'm not sure I have all the answers. I will tell you, maintenance has been the hardest part of scaling, and it continues to be kind of our greatest source of headaches. So I'm not sure we have it figured out. We've tried different models. I mean, we've kind of gone through the whole, sometimes we've thought we needed a maintenance manager, like you described, sort of a lead worker type person. We've played with the difference between a maintenance tech and a maintenance supervisor. And now ultimately we kind of landed on this world of having a maintenance coordinator and then like a manager. We have a woman who's kind of our maintenance manager, but she's actually not a technical person at all. She's simply like a people manager. So her previous job was running a kind of large coffee shop catering company where she had several dozen kind of college age employees. So she's very good at managing people, but she really has no maintenance background. And so that's the model we're using currently. So we have these skilled technicians who know how to fix things, and we have a skilled maintenance coordinator who knows how to, hire, when we have to hire outside vendors, or when we need to order parts, or when we need to troubleshoot problems with customers. She's able to do all of that. And then we have this people manager persona who's kind of just herding all the cats, just kind of keeping everybody, she's really the one managing the schedule, managing the priorities. And it's like one of our biggest challenges is we have a little over 400 multifamily units. We have a few other non-multifamily things we manage too. But the largest property is 130 units, but a lot of these properties are 40 or less units. So it's pretty spread out. It's not like, It's not like a big apartment complex where you just have two maintenance guys and they show up every morning and then work on service tickets. Like a lot of the logistics of, people running all around town is probably one of the biggest things to manage. So yeah, I think you're headed in the right direction, but I don't, like I said, I don't think we've got it all figured out yet. We are using, I don't know if you've looked into maintenance software, but about a year and a half ago or so, we decided to invest in Property Meld. So we use a software product called Property Meld to manage all of our maintenance. I wouldn't say that it's not somehow a miracle cure. It didn't fix every problem, but we use Buildium for our property management. And we felt like Buildium lacked a lot of capability that we would have liked for just kind of how we could manage service tickets and track maintenance requests and things. And Property Meld integrates really well with Buildium, and it did solve quite a few of those problems. And
it integrates like API integration.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Buildium, but Buildium has.
Yeah, we use Buildium. We use Buildium right now, and we're considering going to one page or one site.
Okay.
Because of the purchase of the 280 units, those units are government housing.
Okay.
They accept vouchers, and so with the compliance part of that Section 8 housing, one site is the site that handles a lot of that, makes it a lot more easy. Whether or not we do that across the board, I don't know, but yeah, we manage the current portfolio with Buildium.
Okay. Yeah. So we've used Buildium from the beginning, and we've thought about switching a couple different times. Probably switching to Appfolio at some point was probably the thing that seemed most tempting. But when we really started looking into it, we just decided that we didn't really want to make an intermediate move. Buildium generally does everything we need to do, and we figured we'd rather the next move we make will be to a more, institutional product somewhere in the north of 1,000 units. So we're kind of just we were committed to using Buildium for the foreseeable future here. But Property Meld is in the Buildium marketplace. So it integrates, it's like fully integrated. It gets all of its tenant and unit information straight out of Buildium. And then it can also write, it can update Buildium. Like, when you close out repair invoices and things in Property Meld, it adjusts the financials in Buildium. So it's fully integrated.
I love to know that. Love to know it. Your maintenance guys and cleaners, are you providing cars, tools, and all that, or they're providing their own? What's that look like?
We're generally providing cars. Very, very recently, like in the last 60 days, bought 2 maintenance vans. And we, prior to that, had, we had a maintenance van and then a handful of construction trucks. So now we've got three maintenance vans that are kind of in use all the time. We don't provide cars for the cleaners. They drive themselves and we reimburse mileage. We do provide tools for everybody. It's a little bit of a hit and miss. Some people come with their own basic set of tools, and other people, we just provide all of it. That's one of the things as we're growing and we're looking at, just kind of making things a little more systematized. We probably should have some tighter policies around how we manage tools and how we manage vans and things like that. But so far it's been pretty open.
And the construction trucks, your construction guys are pretty much like your maintenance guys. The only difference is the kind of work they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and the truth is a lot of the work's similar, but construction is so much more production oriented. So it's, you kind of want to get the construction crews to be effective. The systematization of it and the order of the work is really relevant. You don't want them to be constantly switching gears. We try to get the work going on a schedule and a track where it's really efficient. Whereas maintenance is almost entirely the opposite. Their ability to efficiently get a maintenance task done is almost irrelevant compared to their ability to, communicate and provide good customer service and make sure that the maintenance thing is finished 100% so that we don't have to come back. It's less about the speed and efficiency of the task itself and more about sort of the professionalism of the experience. And like, do they finish what they started? Do they clean up after themselves? Making sure we don't have to ever go back, that kind of a thing. So it's a little bit different type of employee.
On your maintenance and or your construction guys, are they fully licensed? Like, are they full plumbing, electrical, HVAC?
No.
How are you handling that?
So, our construction company is a licensed general contractor. And that's kind of, that's carries with it some certain things we can do in the state of Washington. On the maintenance side, though, we're not dealing with licensed plumbers or licensed electricians. You don't need to in Washington to, you don't have to somehow, you can have your own employee doing work in your buildings on your plumbing and on your electrical without being licensed, as long as it's your property. It would be a different story if we were going and trying to fix somebody else's electrical equipment. But so we don't need licensed electricians or plumbers on our maintenance staff.
But nonetheless, they are handling your HVAC and your electrical and plumbing to a large degree, your maintenance crew.
Yeah, but I would say that most of the types of, when you're talking about like HVAC, electrical, and plumbing maintenance calls, they're usually pretty basic. You're talking, leaking water heaters or, clogged toilets.
Correct.
That kind of a thing. They're not doing, they're not like repiping buildings or digging up drain lines or things like that. When we get into that level of work, we're either calling in a vendor or sometimes we have the expertise on the construction side. And if they've got capacity, they can come over and help out with that.
Yep. And your construction guys, they are fully trained, like their sheetrock, their paint, their cabinet, their trim, their carpenter, electric, like they can pretty much do all that work too?
Yeah, we've got a lot of that type of stuff in-house. So we've done different models over the years. So we've got a couple of guys who are sort of our leads, and they can really do everything. They know how to do it all, but they're also really good at kind of leading the crews. And then we've got a handful of miscellaneous guys that kind of cover that stuff, whether it's laying tile or putting in vinyl flooring or, sheetrock, paint. But we don't have a ton of it. Like the way we try to approach most of our construction is we have the capacity to do everything we do in-house, but we try to, for the sake of scale, what we're always trying to do is get stuff into, package things up into a appropriate size that we can use like some outside contractors to actually knock out a lot of the volume. And what we try to do is take care of all the miscellaneous pre and post work for them so that their scope is really consistent. And then that's how we get, then we can control the price and the schedule by basically giving them, this kind of turnkey work.
So your guys that are construction are more like, what's the right word to say it? They're kind of like, not specialists. They like may go out and tear out, rip out, get it down to the studs, right? And then clean up and clean out and do the rough kind of work, not the specialty kind of work that you're hiring the licensed contractors to come in and do.
Yeah, they're kind of jack of all trades. That'd be a way to say it. So, like for example, if we're doing a project right now where we're in the middle of renovating approximately 100 units, and these are pretty significant renovations. There's 100% of all the finishes in these units are being replaced, as well as upgrading the electrical service, adding washers and dryers, doing some other significant plumbing upgrades. And so what we're doing is we come in and our crews handle the demo, the whatever reframing needs to happen. If there's any kind of changes to the layout or things that have to be moved or, walls that need to be altered to accommodate like the washer and dryer, for example. And then we're doing all of the rough plumbing and then getting that all signed off on by the city. And then basically we get every unit to where it starts at the exact same spot. So every unit, gets to a spot where it's been demoed, framed, plumbing roughed in, electrical roughed in, all of that's been signed off on. And so then the scope from there to completion is basically the same on every single unit. And then we just have a fixed price negotiated with, some smaller local contractors. And so from their point of view, it's easy. They know exactly what they're stepping into in every unit. And we'll give them we try to bundle them in packages of 3. So we'll give them 3 at a time, and then they can just hit the ground running because they know exactly what they're doing. Like, they show up on day 1 and they start patching the drywall. And then, it's like they just know the process. And what we've found is that works out to be pretty efficient. We end up dealing with all the unexpected things. We're the ones that are dealing with the demo and the existing condition. And if there's rotted wood, we're replacing it. If there's surprises in the plumbing or electrical, we solve that before the contractor shows up. And so once they show up, they just have a pretty kind of cookie cutter project. And that allows us to allows us to have the capacity of using an outside vendor, but also the efficiency of knowing what it's going to cost us. It's just a fixed price. There's never changes. They just get paid to essentially take it from that stage to completion. And then we touch it again at the very, very end just to do a final cleaning. And sometimes there's just real minor things that we might do, like, cabinet drawer pulls or something like that, if there was kind of oddball things that were missed.
Makes sense. Hey guys, if you've been a listener of my show for any length of time, you know that I attribute a lot of my growth to learning from the guys inside of GoBundance. If you think that GoBundance is a tribe that you might be interested in joining, then reach out to me. Go to wyattgraves.com, connect with me. I'll reach out personally with you and answer any questions about GoBundance to see if it's the right fit for you. On the decision to renovate the 100 units, do you have a mathematical formula that says I'm going to spend $20,000 per unit for $100 increase in rent? Like, why are you renovating the ones that you are? And then what do the numbers need to be to make sense?
So this is something that's changed a little bit over the last several years. When we first got into this and when we first started buying some larger properties back in 2021 or 2022, there was a pretty big differential between a non-renovated and a renovated unit in our market. I mean, at one point in time, like a 1-bedroom apartment, there could have been a $400 or $500 spread between a nicely renovated apartment with in-unit washer and dryer versus a, livable but non-renovated 1-bedroom apartment. And then what we've seen over the last couple of years is that spread has really gone down.
Compressed.
Like there's just not there's just not the appetite among the renter population right now to pay up for, fancier finishes or even for things like washers and dryers. And
so real quick, the rent hasn't came up from the non-renovated. The rent has come down from the renovated.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a teensy bit of like meeting in the middle, but yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I would say that in our market, rents for the last couple of years have been pretty much flat, but the demand for that renovated product has really gone down. So, and you're still, I mean, we're renting that renovated product for a little lower than we were before. But I think the biggest thing is there's just not the demand for it. So, like on the 100 units I mentioned, we're 60 or so units into it. I'm not sure that if we were starting from scratch today, we would have made the same decision. But, we kind of started on this effort a couple of years ago. And so, we're kind of continuing to move forward, and it's not, and even in that property, it's not 100% of the units. And I guess that's probably the biggest thing that I would say in terms of how we've changed the way we do these renovations is, when we started doing this, like that first 8-unit building, and then the next several buildings we bought after that, the plan was always, buy the building, renovate 100% of the units, raise the rent up to a higher market value, higher market rent, and then, refinance the building, whatever. And now what we're realizing is I think we maximize our returns, not by renovating every unit, but by creating several tiers of units. So like on newer buildings that we've bought, we're kind of taking this idea that we want to have, we have a few fully renovated units. We have some partially renovated units that maybe have updated paint and flooring, but not necessarily a kitchen, for example, or maybe not necessarily a bathroom, or they don't have washers and dryers. And then we have some legacy units, which are really just kind of traditional apartments that have been, cleaned and turned, but not necessarily upgraded at all. And it's just like that. I mean, I don't have the data to really dive into exactly what percentage of the building should be each of those buckets, but it seems like having those options appeals to a lot of people. People kind of fall all along the spectrum. They're attracted to the really nice renovated units, but a lot of people will opt for the mid-tier, to save a couple $100 a month. And so, that's kind of how we're approaching it right now. We're doing that with all of our active projects are ending up in some sort of a mixed unit condition state.
I really think that is key. So the 100 and let's just call it the 150 units that we have, most of those 150 units are in the same market, but we call it the classic and not legacy. And then we have the new construction, and then we've got some that are in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's real magic in the diversity there, because you can advertise the low rent, right? So you can advertise the rent rate, and you can advertise the brand new, never been occupied units, right? Mm-hmm. And then you attract a larger group of people, then you get them on the phone, and then you can really convert them to the right one. And you've got a tenant or a resident for one of the three. You've got an apartment for every resident, it just seems like. Yeah, no, totally agree. I think that's kind of in today's market, especially, I think that's a really good strategy. And you do, and it is nice because instead of just telling somebody, oh, sorry, we don't have anything in your price range, we're able to kind of go show them a whole bunch of different things and let them really understand what they can get. And sometimes people stretch their price range when they see what they could get for just a little bit more. Or we also get people, moving up or down within the portfolio. We get people who want to, who give us notice, and we find out that the real reason for giving us notice is because they're trying to save a little bit of money. And then we can let them know that we actually have some less expensive options. Like, why don't we just go, let's go take a look at what we could do, and, and vice versa. I think it's key. I think it's key big time for your construction and the maintenance and all that kind of stuff. This might be a little granular, but I want to ask at least at a high level, how are you doing all your purchasing of supplies, plywood, 2x4s, plumbing fixtures? You have a purchasing clerk and everything goes through that one purchasing clerk, or who's handling that?
No, up until now, a lot of the purchasing has been handled by the key employee who kind of runs the construction division. And we did just recently hire somebody who's going to be kind of his right hand. And so, and And we've done different things over the years. I mean, I've been in the 25 years I've been a contractor, we've probably tried all sorts of different models. But for what we're doing with apartments and for the types of materials we're buying, we're getting 90% of it through Home Depot or Lowe's these days. We've kind of realized that it just doesn't, we never really feel like we come out ahead, using construction supply houses. They all kind of offer better service in some sense, but at the end of the day, it's pretty darn convenient to just work with Home Depot and Lowe's. And then specifically on appliances, we buy all of our appliances through Lowe's, and it's a complicated system. But once you sort of, understand how it works, and maybe recruit one of the local appliance sales guys to be your in-store ally, it's really hard to beat what they offer, because they'll deliver all of the appliances to the unit. You can negotiate pricing and then order your appliances one at a time. So we've just, we've got a spot where we buy all of our appliances and almost all of our cabinets through Lowe's.
Man, that's great insight. And I'm going to add this little nugget of truth that I learned at the Midwest event this past week. Somebody is creating an AI agent, to search the SKUs at Home Depot and Lowe's to manage pricing, because their pricing changes. So they've created an agent. I can't remember who it is, but he's a house flipper and he's buying all of his stuff from Home Depot. And so he's created an AI agent that will log into the portal and then search all the products and organize the pricing, and then tell him the deviation of the old price or the new price, and basically price shop between Home Depot and Lowe's, and constantly figure out what's the least expensive place to buy the particular supply. It's crazy. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Couple other questions, man. This is great. I really appreciate it. I'm fired up about it. Who's paying your bills? Who's accounting?
So we have the CPA who I mentioned does most of the actual accounting work herself in-house. And then my assistant is kind of the one who oversees that all onshore. And then we have in the property management company, most of the accounts payable is coming through the property management company. So all of the utility, insurance, other vendors, all those bills, those all get handled by the office manager in the property management company. So office manager handling most of the day-to-day property management stuff. The offshore CPA is really doing all the bookkeeping and all the bank reconciliations and all of that. And then my assistant is the one who's just kind of overseeing it and making sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
And who's producing the monthly P&Ls? The CPA?
The CPA, yeah.
And then you're reviewing that, and that's how you're controlling expenses and rent rates and incentives and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, she's not doing, as of right now, she's not doing it at the property level. She's really doing it kind of at the company level. So that's how we're managing the, kind of the overall P&L. We use the reports in Buildium for all of the, kind of all the property level information. And that's being looked at by myself and by, the couple people who are really in charge of the property management.
Got it. All right. And then the last question, marketing and sales. I know you said you had a leasing agent. So is one of the leasing agents or property management agents in charge of listing the properties on the portals and generating the calls? That's marketing. How are y'all generating leads? And then who's working?
This is another area kind of similar to maintenance. This is something we've really focused on, and we've dabbled in different ways of doing it. And we're switching it again kind of as we speak. But so it has been being handled by the person who runs our property management division. She's really been the one dealing with Zillow and apartments.com and kind of making decisions about how we're listing the properties. And we track all of our leads. We use a program called Show Mojo, which is kind of a light leasing CRM. We track all the leads. We have our VAs that do a lot of the outbound calling, and then we have our leasing agent who happens to be my daughter. And generally speaking, it works. So we've started to feel like we're not quite getting the amount or the quality of leads that we'd like, and so we're actually diving into that now. Like my assistant and then her assistant, she has a VA who works directly with her. They're really looking at that. And I think we're going to start doing some more aggressive marketing. Like we're going to change the way we have our stuff set up on apartments.com and Zillow. We're adding some better back end on our website so we can capture leads and then do some, targeted marketing, to leads that come to our website. So we're in the process right now of figuring all that out. But that's, yeah. So, I mean, I can report back if we feel like we figured it out and solved that problem, I can certainly report back. But it's a problem because it's, there's no one clear answer, right? I mean, apartments.com and Zillow are certainly a big part of the solution, but it's more holistic than that. It's like, it's the website, it's the quality of the photos, it's the staging, it's your Google, business profile
or whatever. Yeah.
So, and it's also like, sales stuff, right? Like it's the scripts you're using, it's the way you're answering the phone. So, I mean, there's a lot, we're working on that right now, but we're not there yet.
I'll tell you what I'm doing. So I've got a marketing manager that I hired for all of my companies. So I also recently hired a chief technology officer. Okay. All of this AI stuff that's changing so rapidly, I can't keep up, and it's crucial, I think. And so understanding AI and technology and the connectivity of all the different pieces, whether it's Trello and Slack and Buildium and now Property Blend and QuickBooks and just all the things that they need to talk to each other, plus our CRM, the marketing, the Facebook marketplace, the automations that go out, right? The websites, the lead capture forms. It's just a lot. And so we've hired a chief technology officer and a marketing manager. And the next person that we're hiring is an internet salesperson. So as all those leads come in, working the database, working every lead, making sure that we have the conversion models in place so that if the lead comes in, we're going to attempt to talk to them 6 times in 5 days, right? And then 21 times in 10 days until they tell us to get lost or they schedule a showing. Right. And then from there, we'll send them to a showing agent, and the showing agent will then convert them, whether it's the property manager or one of our sales agents to convert. That's what I've got working right now because I can see the leads coming in and not being converted.
Yeah,
and
same
here. Crazy.
We'll have to keep in touch. You can let me know how that's going, because I feel like that's exactly what that's kind of exactly what we're looking at too. Is like, I know, one, I don't think we have enough leads coming in. 2, I know that we're not handling those leads appropriately and we're not converting enough of them to showings. I think where we're losing the least is I think we actually have a pretty good conversion rate of showings to applications.
Once they show,
Once they show, yeah. And then once we get the application, we used to really struggle with getting it approved timely and getting leases out, but I think we really put a lot of emphasis on that, so we're doing pretty well there. But then where I do feel like we're losing people again is we have like our move-in ratios on like approved applicants with leases is lower than it should be. And I think we should be at 90+% of people who we actually send a lease to that ultimately move in. And I feel like, I don't even know what the exact data is, but it's worse than that. Like we're definitely losing people at that last step. So yeah, we're trying to figure that out too.
Interesting. All right. So let's transition to my favorite topic of everything, which is going to be the Multifamily Summit. I cannot wait to attend and get to meet and engage with all the other people that are in multifamily. What's in store for us for the Multifamily Summit? What do you have lined up for us?
So there's a lot. You're familiar with all the speaker lineup, but I can give it to you here for the audience. So, Ben Hardy, who you already mentioned, is going to be headlining, and he's.
And how do you know him, or do you know him? How did this happen?
So Benjamin Hardy spoke at the very first GoBundance event I ever went to. So my first GoBundance event was Breckenridge in 2019, and he had just published "Willpower Doesn't Work," and he was speaking. And then, but more than that, he was actually the first person I met at that event, because when I first got to the hotel, I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know what to expect. I was feeling very, like fish out of water.
Sure.
And I ran into Ben in the hotel bar, and I didn't realize he was the speaker. I think I saw that he had a GoBundance name tag on. And so we kind of hit it off and we're talking. So that was how I first met him. And then we talked a little bit on and off through throughout that event. And then, then since then I've read all his books, kind of followed him online. He's been a big part of my entrepreneurial journey and just kind of my own personal development. And then so the next time I talked to him was reaching out to him, asking him to speak at this event. And then I did recently run into him at the Cincinnati Reds event that Bob puts on. You were
there with Ben then.
Yeah. So anyhow, so I don't have a deep personal relationship with Ben. I'm not even sure he remembers meeting me back in 2019, but I remember meeting him, and he's been a big part of my journey. And actually, him speaking at this event. So we did this event last year, and we had some great speakers last year. And then after last year's event, I kind of sat down and I said, okay, well, if we're going to do this again, who would be like, what would be like, if I could have anybody, who would I want to speak? And Ben Hardy was at the top of the list. And I thought that seemed like an incredible long shot, but I knew that in the GoBundance world, there were a few connections to him. And so I just I reached out to Bob, and
that's a good reach out.
Asked Bob to connect me to Ben. And I was shocked that he said yes, but he did. And so, here we are. I'm fired up, man. Fired up. And who else do you have lined up, and what else is on the agenda? So Jay Scott, do you know Jay Scott?
I follow Jay Scott on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. So he's speaking. He's a great guy. I met him in person at a real estate event in Seattle. I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and we just hit it off. And again, also we don't keep in contact, but it's, he was another name that popped in my head when I was thinking who would be a cool speaker.
So he's market data. Market data.
Well, he's a multifamily syndicator himself. Like he does some pretty large scale multifamily syndications. He's been a contributor on Bigger Pockets forever. He's written a few books. But yeah, he's kind of really into the data. So he does a lot of, like, when his talk will most likely be, on the economy or on economics, or
that's what I was thinking. That's right.
Yeah,
so market data.
He'll be the wonkiest speaker on the stage. For
no doubt. I for sure read him. And then I go read Jay Parsons on LinkedIn because Parsons is a positive outlook.
You got to get the yin yang. You can kind of figure out where you think reality is in the middle. And then Amanda Hahn and her husband Matt McFarland, like they're CPAs and they're great. Bethany LaFlamme, she's an attorney with Premier Law Group. They're one of the largest syndication attorneys in the country. Yeah, we've talked to them. Yeah, so so she'll be there. She's great. Matt Faircloth, I don't know if you know Matt. Matt's a longtime GoBro. He's based up out of the Philadelphia area.
I know the name, never met him.
Yeah, so he wrote a book a handful of years ago called Raising Private Capital. He's got his own kind of vertically integrated company, the DeRosa company. So he'll be there sort of, kind of in a member profile way. He'll be telling his story, talk about his journey. And then we got some workshops going on. We got Elaine Stoggerberg. Do you know Nick and Elaine Stoggerberg?
I don't.
So she'll be speaking. She's got a great story. She's actually she's a physician, and she worked at the Mayo Clinic, and then her and Nick started their real estate empire up in Rochester, Minnesota. And they, she's built this really cool business where they raise a lot of money from medical professionals, and then they invest it in what's becoming a really large multifamily portfolio. And they've got in-house management and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So she'll be talking about that journey. Yeah, a lot of good speakers. And then we've got some fun activities. So one thing that's a little different about this event than maybe some other GoBundance events is I really view that the part of the goal of this whole thing is just sort of the relationship building amongst operators who are, potentially doing similar things and just don't know it. And so we've got some really cool social events each evening. Like it's not just feed you dinner and put, and then like send you on your way. Like we actually have, we have some events of sorts every evening where people can enjoy, great food and drinks, but also, kind of nice, long conversations, a lot of time to get to know people, and, just kind of a lot of that enhanced networking environment.
I love it, man. I cannot wait to come. I'm telling you. So looking forward to it. Tell people how to find out more about it, if you don't mind.
Sure. So we've got, you can find out about the event on our website. If you go to www.multifamily2025.com, it should link you over to our website. The long format version of the address is opxedge, like opxedge.com/GoBundance. And you get, we've got the full, all the information is on there.
And you don't have to be a GoBundance member to attend this event.
No,
true?
I mean, it will be, just practically, at least, there's going to be a lot of GoBundance members, but you definitely don't have to be a GoBundance member. There's an option on the website to click on the guest option, and you can come. And frankly, if people are interested in knowing a little bit more about what GoBundance is all about, this is a great way to kind of get, just get an inside view of what it's like to be a GoBundance entrepreneur. But there are a handful of people registered who are not members. We have a handful of GoBundance members who have key staff or partners who are coming. That's something we encourage people to do this year. Like we had a couple of people who did that last year, and it turned out to be really valuable. So there's definitely people in the room who are, in a more operational capacity, not necessarily entrepreneurs.
I'm bringing our CFO and partner, so he'll be coming with me. He's gonna be blown away. I just know he is. I'm so fired. He needs to be inside of GoBundance too. So this will be a great way to get him in here. I can't wait to let him hear this conversation. Right. So Jonathan, when you hear it, we're waiting on you to take the plunge. Right, pull the trigger and come join us. Last two questions, man. One I forgot to ask, and then since we're on GoBundance, you joined GoBundance in 2019?
Technically 2018, but yeah, like my first event was in 2019.
Got it. I joined in 18 too then. So we're tracking along a lot of ways. What has GoBundance done for you? Why do you keep renewing your membership?
Those might be two different answers, but so what it's done for me, I think the biggest thing GoBundance has done for me is just change my perception of what's normal or what's possible. I just know when I first joined GoBundance, I did not know anybody who, made $1 million a year. And it wasn't too long after joining GoBundance that started seeming like the baseline. And all of a sudden, I knew people who made $1 million a month, and that's, seemed impossible at the time. And so I think just stretching my view of normal, or kind of what's reasonable to expect or what's reasonable to achieve, I think that's been the biggest thing GoBundance has given to me. And then now, in terms of why I keep renewing, I think a lot of it's just, I feel like it's a social circle probably more than anything at this point. I feel, I don't know everybody in GoBundance by any means. There's way too many people to even try to know everybody. But I do have, kind of a close circle of people who I know within the tribe. And I just feel like it's a place where you can go and be yourself and, kind of be around like-minded people.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah, brotherhood. Exactly.
I love it, man. Last question. Are you buying these with your own money? Are you a fundraiser? Are you syndicating, or how are you taking these down?
Yeah. Interesting, point in time. So we're actually going to be raising money for the very first time here in the next, probably be live in the next 30 days or so. But up until now, we did the first 65 or so units that we had completely with our own money. And then after that, we started a joint venturing with some people. So we have a handful of these properties that we own in a joint venture with people who either raised money or just brought their own capital. But we've never raised money ourselves. So we're going to be cutting our teeth on our first syndicated deal here this year.
Cool, man. Dude, I really cannot wait to show up and just dive all in. I'm so hungry. I've listened to Ben's book, all of them, but The Science of Scaling, the latest one. I've been coaching with Jeff Woods also for a long time. So Jeff Woods, the one thing, that's how I found my way to GoBundance. Okay. And I signed up with him about a year ago when he launched his AI mastermind, so that I could really double down and learn everything I could about AI, and then connect with other hard charging CEOs, right? So that mastermind has put me in a room with people that are running billion-dollar companies that are in his mastermind, sitting at the same table as me, wanting to scale their business. And they're billion-dollar businesses. You talk about raising the limits of what's possible, right? And so Jeff has asked the question, he says, who do you want to become and what are you trying to achieve and by when? So then he set the goal, right? Or he helped me set the goal, 10,000 doors in 10 years. And then after we started coaching and he started bringing use cases with AI and these companies that he's working with, it quickly became like, that's way too small. So it needs to be 25,000 doors in 10 years, right? And you let that goal shape the process so that you end up hitting 10,000, right? Or you hit some variation between 10 and 25. If you aim for 10, you're not going to hit 10, right? And then listening to Ben's book, dude, he makes me think that I need to make 25,000 doors in 5 years, right? Raise the floor, raise the floor, raise the floor, reduce the time. So what does it look like for you in 5 years from now, right? You follow Ben, you study his work. So 5 years from now, how many doors do you want? And is he having the same effect on you that he's had on me?
I mean, he does in it's almost in an uncomfortable way, but yeah, so
for sure.
Yeah. So, the kind of the new goal for us, and this is a big goal, and I haven't said it very publicly very many places, but we're looking at 10,000 doors in 3 years, and we're looking at that primarily in the affordable housing world. So we're exploring some different affordable housing strategies that we think have that type of scale potential, but it's very much motivated by the same sort of thought process of Ben's new book that says, there's no way we're going to get to 10,000 doors buying them, 75 or 100 at a time and doing a bunch of renovation work and managing them ourselves. It's kind of like the only way we're going to get to 10,000 is if we're buying them 400 or 500 at a time in a stabilized condition with institutional quality management. And so we're just looking at a totally different model to get there. But it's interesting because it does significantly narrow the available pathways if you have a suitably big goal.
No doubt. Like it forces you to question the model, right? It forces you to think of different ways to achieve the goal, which is why what he's saying works. Dude, this has been great. Thank you, man. I appreciate your time. If you are interested in joining us at the Multifamily Summit, I'll be there. I've got Jonathan coming. Lots of really awesome dudes will be there. Those speakers are fire speakers. They are fire speakers. I cannot wait. And of course, Daniel, if I can do anything for you, right, with this vision and what we're working on and finding out what similarities or synergies that we're finding out, right, to just come together and share what's working. Happy to do that, man.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and we can have some good conversations at the summit. And this seems like this could be a fun relationship, just like a fun time of life. So yeah, let's do it.
No doubt. All right, man. Well, take care and I'll see you in a few weeks. Hey guys, Wyatt Graves here. As you know from previous episodes of this show, I'm on a mission to grow a business that has 25,000 doors, a holding company of service-based businesses surrounded by a protective moat of a personal growth and development educational company. With that being said, I am looking for deals, I'm looking for talent, and I'm looking for capital. If you're interested in connecting with me, go to my website, wyattgraves.com. Send us a deal. I will be sure to include you in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're a real estate agent and you want to be my agent, you're welcome to be my agent if you bring the deal to me. If you're not my agent and you bring the deal to me, we will still get you paid somehow, some way. If you want to work inside of our world, then drop me a line, send me an email, connect with me. We're interested in attracting level 5 talent. And then finally, if you are an investor and want to invest your money, not only to get double-digit returns, but also to have real impact inside of the communities as we raise up the level of good life living throughout our properties with our residents, with our employees, with our communities, then I want to connect with you. Go to wyattgraves.com and fill out the contact information, and I will personally be in touch with you so that we can figure out how we can shake the trees together and win together. wyattgraves.com.